This is Lviv, Ukraine, known for its architecture, culture, and chocolate. Watch as we get to spend 24 hours experiencing the beauty of Lviv and all it has to offer. Hi, I'm Amy. I was born in Wales and I'm a teacher. This is Alex. He was born in Ukraine and he's a doctor. In 2024, we decided to take our careers on the road. We're spending the year traveling full-time and working remotely. Feel free to follow along each week as we move from country to country and give you our travel tips for each place. Welcome to Lviv, Ukraine. If you did not watch our most recent video, Alex and I drove 2 ambulances from the beaches of Normandy into Ukraine to donate to a new hospital in Bucha. Our journey ended in Lviv, at which point territorial defense members are bringing the ambulances the rest of the way. That means we have a couple hours in Lviv, and it just so happens this is where Alex was born. So we are going to check out the house where he spent the first couple years of his life. Then we're gonna meander around, see what we find. His parents told us to visit the Opera House. Someone else told us to visit a McDonald's, because apparently they're really cool here.
I'm just excited for the food in general.
Yeah, Alex has been finding a lot of foods from his childhood that he loves, which is nice. So far, I am really impressed with the buildings and the architecture, which I know Lviv is known for. We did a poll a couple weeks ago about what people wanted to see while we were here. The winner of that poll was current life in Ukraine, so I will just take videos of what we see. Keep in mind, this is the westernmost city of Ukraine before you hit Poland, so every place in Ukraine is going to look very different right now, but this is Lviv. We started by taking the train from Mukachero to Lviv since our flight out was from Poland. If you didn't know, there are no flights in or out of Ukraine at the moment, so you have to enter and exit by either train or car from one of its neighboring countries. The train system in Ukraine is still incredibly reliable and convenient, and this first-class sleeper cabin cost us about $8 each. We arrived at the train station in Lviv and got a ride to our hotel, which was incredible, but I'll show you more of that later. The rideshare app that they use here is called Bolt, and our trip was less than $4 for a 15-minute ride. We dropped our bags and immediately set out to find Alex's childhood home.
There being a window going out, and so this might be like the whole. It's too big.
So we're at the house that Alex lived in.
Yes. My grandmother, up until she passed about 1.5 years ago, she lived in this building on the 2nd floor, somewhere over there. I think I'm not 100% sure, but it was this number 6 on this street.
So you lived here until you were 3?
Yeah, this is where my dad lived too.
Like where he grew up?
This is where he grew up. Yeah. So that apartment has been in my family for a really long time. It's a great location where it's like just outside the heart of downtown, like the Market Square. So.
Yeah, the location's great. We're staying in the center and we walked like 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very close.
Yeah.
So.
It's a really, really beautiful street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you come back when you were 11?
Yeah. Yeah, I stayed here for at least a couple nights.
Oh, okay.
So you visited.
So it's been 19 years, 20 years since you've been here.
I think I was, however, 8th grade.
8th grade,
however old 8th grade is.
13.
Yeah, so 13, 14. So it's been, like 18-ish years since I've been here last.
Wow. Does it look the same?
Pretty much. Yeah, I think that door's original too. So.
Oh, that's cool. It's very cute. I like that we got to see my first house, and then we got to see your first house. Here's a cute little picture I took of Alex in front of his old house. Anyway, as I said earlier, my first impression of Lviv was that the architecture was stunning. We had no real plan for the night we arrived, so it was nice to be able to walk around and just take in everything we saw. The city is the most walkable place I've ever been, so we spent a couple hours walking around and seeing what a random weekday in Lviv, Ukraine looks like right now. We made it a personal mission to try and spend as much money as we could afford by stopping into multiple little stores, souvenir stands, restaurants, and bakeries. We found a vegan restaurant called Om Nom Nom and went a little overboard while ordering, but oh my goodness, this may have been my favorite meal this entire year and maybe my life. I know that sounds incredibly dramatic, but the menu was so diverse, with everything from chicken Kiev to sushi to eggplant salads. Insane.
We found a little bakery that had a very trendy interior and incredibly kind staff. I was excited to try some foods my great-grandma used to make, and one of those was the medvik, which is a honey cake, so that's what we ordered. It was incredible and just how I remembered it, though not quite as good as how my great-grandma used to make that. We continued to walk around until it started to get dark and we made our way back to the hotel. The lights at night are so beautiful, but there is currently a curfew in Lviv. Locals told us that it starts around midnight and ends when the sun rises.
So our hotel has a bomb shelter in the basement that they use when the air sirens sound, but they've actually also turned it into a bar and the location for their breakfast buffet. So the next morning we went down there for breakfast. I am incredibly lucky enough to not know what most bomb shelters look like, but I can imagine this is one of the most beautiful ones that exists. The effort that has gone into making this a comfortable place was incredible. If and when the sirens sound, this is a very safe place guests and staff can come to and seek safety. The fact that this is needed is obviously incredibly sad, but they've made the best of a horrendous situation, and it really is just such an impressive space. Not to mention, the breakfast was really good. Well, our train to Poland left this day at 7 p.m., so we had a little more time to explore before we had to leave. As I said earlier, most people who voted in the poll said they'd like to see day-to-day life in Ukraine right now. As far as Lviv goes, I can best describe it as a normal city with people enjoying their day to the best of their ability, but with a palpable somber feeling in the air mixed with intense hope and pride. There were reminders all over the city of the reality Ukraine is facing during this war, tributes to family members still defending the country, tributes to those who have lost their lives, and messages of hope among a community that so desperately wants to keep their home. One of the most incredible sights is something I can't quite explain, so I'll just have to show you.
We wish we could have stayed and listened to them sing all day, but sadly we had a couple more things we wanted to check off the list before leaving. On the way to the opera house, we saw kids playing in the fountains. Let's go to the chocolate shop. The architecture of the opera house was beautiful, and though we would have loved to have gone inside, at this point we only had about 2 hours before we had to go back to the hotel and pack, and we still apparently needed to try McDonald's, eat some more traditional Ukrainian food, and, according to Amy, as always, find some dessert.
As Alex said, next up was McDonald's.
Let's see what they have.
Oh, we should try that. We should get curry. They have curry. Get curry. We got a fish wrap and fries with 2 dipping sauces they don't have in the US, which was fun. We shared both because Alex had another restaurant he wanted to take me to right after to try some more traditional foods with a vegan twist. Just to clarify, we're not vegan, we're just pescatarian, but we really like trying new plant-based foods because we find that a lot of times they actually have more flavor. It is starting to rain, but that's okay.
Who are you talking to? So we came to this cafe. It is a vegetarian/vegan cafe, but they have a lot of traditional Ukrainian dishes. So they have vareniki, they have golubцы, they have a dessert, which is in front of me called a medovik, but because it's vegan, it's a not medovik. Myot means honey, so it's a honey cake, but without the honey part. So interesting to try that. I had a real honey cake earlier today, so it'll be a nice little comparison. We also got some borscht. So very excited to have Amy try it and then also check out the vegan versions of these traditional dishes.
So what do you think?
It is good. I will say I do prefer the traditional, the one with honey, what I assume is actual cream, because this is vegan cream. But for a vegan substitute, I highly recommend still. So this is borscht, and borscht oftentimes has beef in it. They have taken mushrooms, kind of actually made it look a little bit like beef, and added it in. And traditionally, what you'll do is you will take sour cream, or in this case, sour cream, and add it into the borscht to kind of almost like fatten it up a little bit, kind of give it some richness, and it's very good. We also have some vareniki, which are dumplings essentially, and these ones in particular are filled with buckwheat and cabbage. Again, most of the time you'd either fill them with potatoes or with meat or meat and cabbage. Here they've used buckwheat and cabbage. They look delicious.
I love beets already, but these are just incredible. Even without the sour cream. I also love the mushrooms. We should make this. There's also some like red beans in here. Is that normal?
Can be.
That's very good. What's this last thing we got?
So this last thing we got is golubцы, which is cabbage stuffed with traditionally meat, but here it's mushrooms. So you have this like thin cabbage wrapping, and then you put your stuffing of choice. And there's a tomato sauce on this one. There's other sauces you can use traditionally, but this is a common one as well. So we'll see how it goes, but it looks good and well presented.
I love mushrooms. I love cabbage. I love tomato sauce. What's not to like? But I'm very full. That food was great, and now we're going to a handmade chocolate shop. Well, it's called Lviv Handmade Chocolates. So we'll see what it's like.
This chocolate shop had 2 different levels. The first had just a little selection of chocolates and ice cream, as well as a factory where you can look in and see the process of them making chocolates on certain days. Sadly, today was not a production day, so we headed upstairs for the main store. The selection here was incredible. They had more than 60 types of marzipan, nuts, truffles, praline, chocolate caramels, and cream sweets. They also had exclusive sets which lets you sample multiple types of their chocolate and a counter dedicated to truffles where you could select what you'd like one by one. We opted for a selection of various truffles as well as one of their chocolate sets, and then it was time to head back to the hotel to pack.
Alrighty, so we saw Alex's first home. We got some traditional Ukrainian food. We went to a handmade chocolate shop, and we saw the opera house. Sadly, we now have to go back to our hotel and pack up. Our train is in an hour and a half to go to Poland. Before we leave, here's another quick glimpse of our hotel. We stayed at the Best Western in Lviv Market Square and were so impressed. We only saw one other guest while we were there, which made me sad given how many staff members there were eager to help you with whatever you needed. Its location couldn't have been more perfect, and although we may be biased because we had just spent the past couple of days staying on cots in military bases, the bed was exceptionally comfortable.
That's like pedestrian.
Okay, we're all packed up, a little bit rushed. We are going to go to our train. The Best Western in Lviv Square, phenomenal. less than $100 a night and great location. There's a bomb shelter with a bar in it and breakfast in it. I highly recommend.
Yes, great deal, great location. It's a old building that's been newly renovated for the rooms, so it's very nice inside and outside. Highly recommend.
Yeah, and I say this understanding what I'm saying, but if you want to come to Ukraine, Lviv is a wonderful place to come, and they need the tourists. So if you feel comfortable doing that, I'll leave it at that. Okay, bye. We got to the station to board our train to Poland, and this was actually the part of the trip that I was most nervous for, and that was because although Alex has an American passport, it shows his birthplace as Ukraine, and we'd had so many people reach out to us asking if he'd be allowed to leave the country after entering. They did have military members on the train as we boarded, and they seemed to only be checking the passports of men. They came and checked Alex's, swiped it in their machine, and handed it back to him without an issue. Alex's dad had an issue when he took a similar train from Lviv to Poland last year, but it was on the Polish side of immigration, not the Ukrainian side. So I was still a little nervous that we'd run into problems once we arrived, but aside from immigration having a 2-hour wait, we actually had no issue with Alex's passport, and we safely made it to our hotel for the night. We only had 2 nights in Poland before we flew from Krakow to Naples, but shout out to our Polish friend Alicia for the best food recommendations while we were there.
Way too much food.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week in Naples, Italy. Okay. Oh, this car's not. You can eat it, it's okay.
Oh, I thought you were.
But you should give this man money.
I'd like to point out no one has had action yet.